is this extra arrow counter, and I think there are actually two of them, but I don't know where the other one is. As far as I can tell, you use them to mark battles and interesting locations that things are happening. I think I had two to begin with. There's nothing in the rules about them. They're just noted as arrow marker. Maybe in the battles it says point the arrow marker. Or that would be pretty useless. Oh, there's the other one. No. So we're in the diplomacy phase. At this point, Marius is definitely going to give the grain to Sulla. He's got 1 point over in Baetica. He can swing. I don't think... Yeah, he's not going to be able... The pirates aren't going to be able to interfere with that grain. So that means we only have one grain, and on 1 through 4, we're going to have a revolt. Yep. So what happens? Yeah. So there's a 10-point change. There's going to be a small, like a 412 that shows there. Sulla's troops get booted out, and whatever the morale value of the capital is, which I believe is noted in the scenario, if I can find that, changes hands. But Sulla loses another 10 points, and I think the capital's 8, but I'm not positive. Yeah. The Corn Revolt also handed Italy over completely, because Rome was all they needed, to Marius. That's worth 13 tax value, 13 more morale. So Marius gets a pile more morale for that. In addition, he succeeded in taking this, which is worth another 4, 8, 12, 16, 18 points. And he got a battle out of the way. Now that 18 points gets subtracted off Sulla. Italy doesn't. I hope I did that right. Yes, I did. So Marius is now up to 120. Sulla is down to 68. And you can see how quickly his situation just degenerates. That's why I say I'm not sure Sulla has much of a chance in this game. He's facing real forces. And now he's back. He doesn't have money. He doesn't have anything really to grow on. And now he's back to 50 points. So he'll be back. He'll be at -1 on any battles that he fights with Marius. This is worrying the Mithridates, but because if Rome converts all to one player fairly quickly, it does not bode well for them, because then the Italian fleet can start building up. Also, I think the Corn Revolts only happen if there's another Roman faction in play. That's a little rules. Now this isn't specified. Oh, it's 2 unseasoned 212s. I've got just one in there, I realized. It wasn't a 412, but there we go. Hey, more victory points if you can kill them. And I don't see anything. Yeah, I think you can have an anti-Roman Corn Revolt. Unfortunately, yeah, it looks like they happen in any scenario. Okay. And let me make sure I've got the right person in there. See, it seems really weird to me that you'd have non-Romans in there. I don't know. I'll look to see if I can find anything about that. So the Corn Revolt could favor someone who's non-Roman. You don't have to worry about Corn Revolts if you're non-Roman. So if rebels not attached to a faction, essentially, take over, and it would be whoever's closer. We're not going to count the pirates in there, I think. I don't know. Honestly, that would be really disturbing if they were allowed to be part of it. So I'm not going to even think about that. But yeah, so now we're on Sulla's turn. He really has to like hope for the best at this point, that he can. And the problem is he's going to be degenerating perhaps, because he's in a port right now, and we got a road here. So 3, 6, 7. He's not going to have supply, so he can't just attack anything. Yeah. 3, 4, 5. I got to get my wagon up in order to go any further. Ouch, I didn't realize that. I could launch my navy to go try to get Ravenna, and then hope that my army can come up and relieve whatever siege Marius puts on, I guess. More bad stuff happens to Sulla. I marched out of Rome, went and took Genoa, but I lost one of my heavy infantry doing it, which meant I netted -2 for taking Genoa. And then Ravenna here, I took successfully without a problem. But that puts me in a lot of danger. Marius facing a fair-sized little force there. I didn't need to bring that much. Maybe I shouldn't have, but... and there's also the possibility that this could go. But it's going to come down to a showdown. Sulla has less troops now than Marius does, and it just does not look good at all. But on the bright side, Rome may be saved by this. Although the Rhodes fleet got destroyed in a victory, but they ended up losing a morale point for that victory because of the losses they took were more than, because of the sunk units that were on board the fleet, more than what they did to the pirates. And now the pirates kind of have a free rein, although I needed to use Lucullus here to do the amphibious invasion. I don't know if I cheated somewhere. Here I might have done an amphibious invasion. I'm not allowed to. You need a +2 or +3 leader to do one. But if I did, I mean, I could have walked here. It's just the invasion couldn't have happened. But anyway, that's where we are. And now we're on Mithridates, who has the problem of trying to make the advance this way. Now, I could use my navies to try to, because I've got Mithridates there, to try to make a landing in Italy and really kind of throw things for a loop. Because as things stand, there's enough of enough chaos in Italy that maybe it doesn't, maybe I'll be able to land and sneak the rest of my forces in with normal landings and get a showdown with whoever survives, especially if they've taken some losses. By the way, this cannot happen. Like, historically, nothing like this happened. And this is what so many of the scenarios are like. They give you a completely bogus view. This 6-year scenario or whatever, it's going to be over like that. And that's what so many of them are when they don't have a lot of players. If they have a lot of players, they take a little bit longer. You might get through a year or two before it's all just decided. But it's one of the real flaws to the design, in my view. There's just like some core problems with this. And unless Decision has addressed those, the game just doesn't give you, for all its historical research, for all of the effort put in, it doesn't give you any real view of the kind of struggle that was going on, years-long struggles of civil wars and stuff. They're all over pretty quickly. Mithridates' turn. Move some things to the coastline here. Captures 2 cities. That gives him 2 morale points from Marius, 2 from Sulla. He's way down here. This is actually outside of Marius's range, which is kind of important. And now we're going to see a 3-sided battle for Italy as the Mithridates units start invading southern Italy. It's the only way I can see getting a grip, going through Illyricum. Even though there are roads, it just didn't seem plausible. Although now that I have this, I could actually shift things up and start capturing the ports and everything. But we'll see. I got my navy there. It can get me back out if need be. If Marius comes down this way, I can flee. He cannot quite reach me, although he can force march if he wants to. But I think his goal is going to be to try to beat Sulla. If Sulla is going to come up this way, you got to do that. And now we're on the barbarians, who hoping for another corn riot. Although now, if I pay, corn can come from Egypt. But all the rest that I can get is covered. So it'll be, 1 through 3. Screw up that doesn't affect much. Lusitania was already part of the Lusitanians, so I did not have to capture this. That's okay. We kind of have free reign over here until the Romans decide to come in. And for Lusitanians, they captured and plundered the capital of Baetica. Took a couple of cities. They're getting their morale up. It's at 113 now. Marius is down to 104. It's going into a mobilization turn. This is the first mobilization turn of the scenario, so prices are not doubled. And Sulla has almost nothing. He has Illyricum that he can build forces in. Nowhere else is anything capable. Marius, he might be able to build some Spanish forces. The biggie is that he'll be able to build legions in Italia, which, again, improves his position. Marius, historically, got his butt beaten, but does not look like this scenario set up in a fashion where that's allowable. There's just stuff missing from the game, basically. The corn riots aren't enough to indicate, defections in the armies and stuff like that, and not that was really an issue. So I don't know. I don't know what you can really put in here. Maybe the random events will do us some good because we go over here. Maybe something magical will happen. Things will just convert. But as far as I can see, Sulla's pretty much doomed, and that probably means that Marius on his own can beat back his opponents. But we'll see. That might be the harder task because his opponents are not trivial, right? Mithridates has a lot of troops and money and a capacity to build more. The Lusitanians are getting free reign and they're cutting into the income. They've already taken 5 income away. They took Baetica away. The pirates also causing problems. So Rome may have problems here. However, if I can knock Sulla down without destroying his army, then his army becomes mine. And that could be valuable, no matter what his color becomes mine. Yeah, I mean, chances are taking that out is going to swing the faction, but the question is Rome going to be able to handle fighting the war after the Civil War? Now, what could you do to reverse this? Not a lot, because Marius doesn't have boats, so he can't even go and try to help Sulla somewhere else, and try to keep the Roman army as strong as possible or whatever. So he can't focus on Spain and let Sulla focus on Mithridates and then try to work on it from there. That's just not a workable solution. The only thing that, because of the corn riots and the pirates, only Sulla has the boats to handle that, and he doesn't have enough to really handle it, especially with the Rhodes fleet gone. So, in the economic phase, the first thing we do, and I'm not sure, I know they've got it sequenced there with the random events. Let me make sure the random events shouldn't be done first. I seem to remember you want to roll them first because, because of the mobilization and some other rules that affect your income for the turn. What I was going to say is you start, looking at the tax value, make sure your number for a total is correct, and you add that to your current value. But instead, what I got to do is I got to look for the random events chart because the sequence of play is stupid. And here it is. And unfortunately, it requires one die where it requires two different colored dice, essentially. So I'll be back in a moment. So let's use red for the first die. And we're in the first period, so we'll be adding 1 to that. And then the second die, we add the number of major powers, which should only be 3. It never changes in a scenario. So let's see what we get. And each player rolls. So let's do Marius first. A 5 and a 5 gets us a U, which we do the lookup. Prosperity, he gets an extra 50% taxation. All right, well, I'm going to do my taxation with him then, because I won't remember everything easily otherwise. I've got a total of 45, if my numbers are right. Let's see, I'm missing Baetica. I'm missing Cisalpina. Did I remember to take that off? I didn't. So that's actually some more morale I lost there. So I'm at 96, and we're gonna take 8 more off there, and I'll be back. And that gets me, I think, 56 more bucks added on. I have a 73 buck treasury going into this phase. Now, of course, I need that money also if there are any operating expenses. Primarily, those would be donatives throughout the scenario. And you can see some of the problem with Marius and Sulla fighting each other. And if they don't fight each other, if they completely cooperate, I still think they're screwed because of the pirates, but I talked about that. It may be the only way that they have a chance in this scenario, though. Rome feels weaker than it does in most. Which is weird because, I'm starting this scenario and I'm like, yeah, well, my memory is always you go after the Civil War first because Rome can handle anything. This may be one of the few scenarios where they can't. There may be some late in the game as well. So I've got that 73 bucks written down. I can't tell what my morale is because my writing with this pencil is too light. I need to get a different pencil. Random events are written. Each player refers to his random events table. He rolls a die, adds blah, blah, blah. But then there's this other. if a player controls more than one major power, roll separately for each. Which, to me, means shit. Bump the damn table. Well, the constant dealing with the rules, and obviously on video it's fucking worse, is just really causing issues. This game is nowhere near as bad just playing it, but trying to demonstrate it is a fucking mess. So trust me, it plays better than it comes across. And that's probably the case with a lot of things, you know. I get so fucking frustrated trying to video these things, especially. All right, so are there any of these? Yeah, there are ones that kind of affect major powers with replacement points and the like, but I'm just going to say the Lusitanians don't get a roll because it seems like it's linked by the major power. There aren't many scenarios where a player does not have a major power. I actually think this one's kind of interesting because of it. So what have I done? I rolled, I think, let me see what this came out as. This came out as, would this be 2 and 8? This would have been a blank 2. So I think I rolled for all of them. I'm not sure. Anyway, the other 2 had no effect. Oh, I know what I did. I did not roll. I added Sulla's big $2, and ooh, the writing came out nice here. It's just the fucking pencil that I hate. Yeah, I did not roll for Mithridates. So he gets a 4 and 6. He gets an O. Barbarian incursion. If there's any barbarian major power, ignore the event. If there are any inactive barbarian minor powers, so this is not a major power. Therefore, we don't ignore it. If there are any inactive minor barbarian powers with units listed in the scenario, the event activates one of them. Well, now we have to go look in the scenario book and see. I don't think there are. We have Egypt, civilized non-Roman, civilized non-Roman. Okay, so the answer to that is no. And now we keep flipping through the books. Otherwise, roll a die to determine where the barbarians appear. And this could significantly disrupt the scenario, though, which is cool, because the scenario is beginning to look like shit. 6, Arabia Deserta. Roll a die again, and we get that many barbarian, but in Arabia, it'll be 616 like Cav. Now, is this going to make a damn bit of difference in the game? Not really. I don't think. So now, we look at Mithridates' sheet and see Asia, Galatia, Macedonia. Yeah, see, whoever these are, they're going to have to fight their way through other crap to get there. So for the sake of simplicity, let's ignore this event. It's just going to start causing noise on the board that it really isn't going to do a damn bit of good. All right. So that's our random events. Now we go to the phase marked random events and actually apply the taxation and mobilization. And I need to switch batteries. Normally, Roman mobilization is the most complex in this game. However, Mithridates' special mobilization, split between 2 colors and all that, actually makes him a little bit more complicated. I think. I don't know, because they're both simpler versions, but whatever. Anyway, Sulla's is very easy. He owns one province, Illyricum, and Illyricum does not show up on here. He does show up, if you look over here, Macedon and Illyria, but that's for later periods. He can't mobilize. No troops for him. Okay, excellent. But for Marius, what we're going to be doing is trying to figure out, with $73 how much I can build. This turn would normally be doubled in cost, but it's not because it's the first mobilization in the scenario. I would like to build lots of big units. Big units are best for cost. So like this, I'm paying 1 for every 4. For this, I'm paying 1 for every 7. Here it's 1 for every 4, so these may be better. I don't know about being able to facilitate defending Spain at this point. I can't build in Sicily. I can't build in Africa Proconsularis because they're BCERs. And even if I defeat Sulla, I won't get that. I'll just get more A's. All right. So with 73 bucks, I start picking units and buying them. Well, I obviously want to buy the 320 10s if I can do so, and I can because they're the most effective cost. Otherwise, I probably want to buy smaller units if all other things are equal. So 3 of those, where was my cost for them? They're $4 each. Oh, wait. These are only $5 each. I was counting this number. It's the cost is up here. These are actually more effective cost-wise. Okay. The advantage of these guys is there's less stacking points, but right now I think I need strength. However, I don't have any more 16 10s. So yeah, we'll build these 3. And we do that by marking them here. Boop, boop, boop. That's used up. I spend $12 for that. And they will be coming in at half strength. Now I gotta be careful because I can only put 2 in each location. And now I have to check, is training in effect on this scenario? I'm pretty sure it's not, so I can see it here. No, I can't. Special rules, yeah, here it is, 26. Yeah, training is not in this scenario, so I don't have to worry too much. I just have to have a named leader or a leader in the province. The only province where I have that is Italia, so I'm not building anywhere else anyway. Great. Okay. If I had some 1610s, I could build them. If I had a smaller thing, I could build it. What I can't build is these 2410s, my elite units. So let's build 2 412s. Sure. And they come in again unseasoned. And that's $2 more. What I can build is fleets. Fleets are very expensive and they take a while to build. And I have to pick a port that I don't think I'll lose. I think that'll have to be Ancona. I feel like that's my only kind of safe port. Over here I could get raided too easily. Here I've got my main force in play. So how many of them am I allowed? I'm allowed up to 4 fleets. I think ports are exceedingly important. I'm not allowed to build anything else. So let's build 4 fleets if we can. That's 52 more bucks. And it says 2 counters because these aren't seasoned. What did I say, 52? So I owe 66. I take that off here, and that leaves me with only $7. Now, I've heard some people say, there's too much bookkeeping in this game. I actually don't feel like there's all that much. It's about on the level with Empires and Arms. It's definitely less than Europa Universalis by a lot. It's less than after the Holocaust. It's a fair amount. I think about the same as you see in like Advanced Third Reich. It's probably less than that. Maybe about the same as in WIF. where you're keeping track of things. It doesn't give you a lot to manage the bookkeeping, but you don't really need a lot. I feel like these papers work fine as long as you have a pencil which can actually be read, which I do now. So, in addition to the 4 fleets that I built, I mark off these 4 1610s because they were required to build the fleets. The fleets, I think they take 3 months, but they may take longer, which is kind of bad because then they come out in the middle of winter. But I need to build more fleets for the next turn too. And now I get to position my units, and I get to put 2 in any given hex. Marius will take the two of the heavy infantry. We'll put others in Rome. I don't know where to put this piece. I'll put it here because it can get places. And I don't know about my fleets, whether they're limited by the same deployment considerations. Turns out fleets are also limited to 2 units, and they count against your limitation. So I shifted things around. The 2 heavies are being built here, this unit here. And for the fleets, because they don't show up right away, I had to write down where they're going to show up, and that actually says Pisa and Ancona. I wrote it in the light pencil just to be here and here. I think, I don't know. I don't know if there's a way that I can kind of prevent the pirates from being able to get at it, but maybe I can move some forces into there to make it a little harder on them to take the city. Ancona, I feel, is fairly protected, but I can't protect anything down here from the Mithridates player. So if I can't build them and they're destroyed, that's too bad, I guess. You know, it's a lot of money and a lot of manpower, but it's just, I need to take a chance that I can build them. But I also need to take a chance and try to defeat Sulla with, you know, bringing my full force to bear against him. All right, that is Marius's builds. Now, Sulla gets none. We go to Mithridates, and I gotta check something. So Mithridates is special in the sense that he has these 2 colors that have their own recruitment functionality for each of them. How weird is that? It's pretty weird within a single power, but it's quite often that a single player may need to know a couple different mobilization systems. Because, for example, you might have Romans and some barbarians under your control. You may also have some civilized non-Romans, all of which use their own special systems. So it's not unreasonable to say you would have to look a lot of things up, even just to run your, you know, the countries, the entities under your own control. None of them are terribly complicated. The Roman one is the worst, and we saw that's not that bad. Sulla didn't get to build anything. Marius, very little, because his leaders are all in Italy. But it's, I don't know. It's just, it's part of the cost of this game is having, you know, having all these different systems and subsystems that relate to specific little things. Now, in this case, though, and this is one of the other problems you add to the game, each scenario has its own special rules, sometimes ones that are scenario specific, sometimes ones that refer into the rule book and you have to flip through the rule book and find the damn thing. And it just becomes kind of a mess. And then, like, you know, 2 of the recruitment rules, as an example, are part of the base rules, but then other ones like civilized recruitment for some reason are over in the special rules for scenarios, even though they're in like half the scenarios. It's kind of like the Civil War rules, which are in like all but 4 scenarios or something. I don't know. If you want to capture such a broad swath of time with lots of different scenarios, I think you're forced into this. But what it means is, unless you keep playing the same scenario over and over again, you're constantly going to be facing significantly new situations. I kind of had this problem with Arquebus somewhere in that mess over there. Oh, God, I got to figure out. Oh, there it is. It's hiding over there. Where each scenario basically had a little pile of special rules, and they played a little differently. And it was just, it's kind of annoying. With this, I'm more used to it and more accepting. It's not Men of Iron, right? Men of Iron is supposed to be a real simple, nice little easy game. Yeah. But let's start looking at what we got here. For Mithridates, Pontic units are recruited by the rules of 26. It would be nice if they told me what that is. That's civilized recruitment. The Greek and Asiatic by the rules of 7. Oh, fucking joy. Why can't you tell me what the rules is? Okay, so 7 is Roman recruitment. Boy, that's not what I expected. All right, so we'll be doing Roman recruitment with them, and the Pontic are recruited by 26, whatever the fuck that is. That's where that actually is kind of you get accrual points and regular points. So my accrual points should be listed somewhere. Unfortunately, I don't think I have them down. So we look that up. He has a replacement rate of 6 on those, which I should probably write down somewhere. I have $80. That's kind of the big thing. All right. So where am I allowed to build the Greek and allies? Macedonia, Asia, and Lycia and Pamphylia. Well, I think I own Macedonia, which means I can build troops there. That's probably my optimal place. So we'll try to build those, which are again the brown first. And here we have to kind of worry about the costs of the units, which correspond with the legionary costs. All I have is a couple of 16-9s. I do have fleets I can build, though. Fleets would be helpful because of what I'm doing over here, but also I think I can ruin Rome if I can beat them in a naval engagement and allow the pirates the overall power. It turns out I screwed up royally with the Mithridates forces. I have all my leaders in Achaia and Epirus except for Mithridates and this guy up here at Colchis. Not Colchis, I don't know, wherever. Chersonesus. And that's bad because I can't build any brown units in Achaia and Epirus. If I had left one leader, any guy, this poor Doiker, whatever, if he had been up in Macedonia, I could have built my brown navies, but I can't build them. Or my brown anythings. I have heavy infantry, I have all kind of things I could build. Can't do it. So all I'm able to build is my accrual points, which is 6 points worth of units. And I pay the $5 that costs, and they're going to be both being placed in Achaia and Epirus here under those forces. Easy enough. Both Rhodes and the pirates, Sulla's running Rhodes, the Lusitanians are running the pirates. they each get a small number of replacement points. Rhodes gets 1, the pirates get 2. In both cases, the navies are the most important thing. Those cost 4 each to build, so we're not seeing any of them happening. By the way, Rhodes is going to start losing morale because they don't have the capacity to attack now. During the winter, they're released from that requirement. But Rhodes could just dissolve due to, not having troops. Over here for the Lusitanians, they can't even store replacement points because they've lost nothing. So they're essentially not involved in this whole process. And we move to the diplomacy phase. And that's it for this morning. Marius was very lucky to have control of Italy on this turn. I may actually not want to do what I was going to do, which was pay to get a second grain. I only have $7, so I can only pay once. The disadvantage is I would kind of like to beat Sulla this turn and try to drive him down. And but Sulla's at 68 morale. This is probably not 68. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I'm not going to be able to knock Sulla down without facing his big force. So I'm not going to pay, and we'll roll with just 1 grain, which means on 1 through 4 we have, I'm sick. 1 through 4 we have a grain revolt. And Rome again switches hands. I think Mithridates miscounted. No, I miscounted. I thought I could move from here to here, but there's a water between. Yeah, so this would be 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. No, 9, 10. Shit. He did miscount. So 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is clear here. 9, 10. I can actually move my legions down to here. Am I in supply? 4.5, not quite. But I'm in supply from Messina over there, I believe. That's 3.5. So, yes, I can actually hit Mithridates if I don't want to hit Sulla. That may be the better move. I'm not sure all of my forces can get there, but I'm going to calculate up and see which one I can get. And trying to do something other than just slog up through here, hex by hex, eating through my supply wagons, ended up being a mistake, as it usually is in the game. Usually you just walk down the coastline as slowly as you have to and suffer for it. This is actually a tough call for Marius either way. If he doesn't beat Sulla, Sulla gets to capture things and put himself in a better position vis-a-vis Rome, or vis-a-vis Marius. Which may mean that Rome might survive, but it puts Marius in a weaker state. On the other hand, if I run down here, maybe I can defeat Mithridates. I'm bigger. I'm not sure I'm bigger enough to deal with the doubled. I didn't count correctly. I can clearly get a good odds on this, and then probably dispatch Sulla. But if I head down here, the advantage of it is I can prevent Mithridates from shipping more and more troops into Italy. I don't know which way to go, and I wish I could think straight, but my nose is dripping so bad. Not only would I be opening things up for Sulla, but Mithridates is actually too big a force for me just to assault. Way too big. So I'm going to go assault Ravenna here, try to force Sulla's hand. I'm beginning to see that the only possible way that this scenario can be won by a Roman is probably if Marius and Sulla cooperate completely. or cooperate a great deal early on. Not just agreeing not to attack each other, but actually Marius probably funding Sulla somehow. Not that Sulla can get any troops out of it, which makes his position kind of questionable. But if he ends up in Macedonia, and I don't know about Achaia, I think he can recruit there as well. With a power base there, then he could turn around and win. And that's probably what you're supposed to be doing. We'll see how this turns out. And I don't know, maybe we'll think about giving it an abortive second try after this one. Because most of the scenarios don't work like this. Most of them, Rome is such a mighty force that you're not going to bring her to her knees. The winner of the Roman revolt, of the Roman Civil War, is invariably one of the winners of the scenario. Here, I'm not so sure. Anyway, we got a 2-to-1 attack. I'm at +3 for my leadership. I'm too far away for Sulla to intercept. I get a 4, which is pretty crappy. So I'm going to lose half. But, and morale, 65 to 74 isn't going to affect things. And neither of us has enough money to donate that up. So we've got a half, a defender's eliminated and half of his force is taken in losses on Marius. Since morale changed hands, Ravenna has now been recaptured. And I don't know what else to say, except that I realized my pirates should be going and capturing Rhodes to knock it out of the game. And Sulla came up to a quick agreement because Sulla doesn't have the troops to fight Marius. Let's work together. Let's see if we can turn this around. So I started moving this and then realized, wow, I got to move my boats first. So this unit's actually moved, but shouldn't have been allowed to. But Lucilius here is in range of Mithridates' fleet. So he is going to attempt an interception against Lucilius. And I'm going to bring Mithridates with me, I guess. I don't know. He's not actually on board the ships, so that may be a problem. But I need to roll, I think, higher than a 3 to intercept. I'll have to look at it again. I succeed in intercepting. So we're going to have a naval battle here, and that's resolved immediately. Basically 8 fleets to 6, which is 4 to 3, which works out to be, not counting the strength points because they're not really important, which works out to be a 5 to 4 battle. Let's look to see about our morale checks. I have 69 for Sulla, whereas Mithridates has 110. Well, that's pretty close. I need 9 more. So I'll spend 9. And now it's up to Sulla whether or not to donate. He knows he can't beat Mithridates' donative. Mithridates could actually have gotten more, but I don't feel like a naval battle is the most important thing. So now I'm at +1 on the die roll from the morale. Ooh, except CER. These are CERB, so that evens it up. 5 to 4 even. We roll a 4. The attacker will be losing a quarter of his force. The defender will be losing half his force. The defender is going to have to retreat. Except it didn't count as an attack. I didn't have a real attack I could make. I guess I could leave Rome. Maybe my best option at this point, except, yeah, I'll be in supply if I leave Rome. Sure. Because otherwise I'm losing 5 morale if I don't launch an attack. So we'll get out of here and we'll go take this port. That'll help us. So I got 4 to 1 on land combat. I don't know what our modifiers are. I'm actually at 63, not 58. I haven't taken the hit yet. Nobody can donate. 5. I win. So I get 2 points from Marius. On Mithridates' turn, he chases down Sulla's navy and kills one more of the factors of it. That would satisfy my attacks, but then I went back and launched a landing here at Brindisi and also attacked here. That gave me another 4 points of morale. Mithridates right now is sitting at 126, where the two Roman factions are both kicking around 60, 64 for Marius. Now, the problem is, of course, I've got my forces split here, but there's a good chance if I hit here that Mithridates can intercept. However, no such chance if I hit Mithridates himself. His force may be large enough, and I believe it is, that Marius doesn't really want to attack it. But it might be the best chance that there is left in this game for the Romans. We're not sure. And now we go to the Lusitanians. And the Lusitanians have an interesting problem here. Because if the game does go a long time, and they capture all of Spain, they could dissolve as a faction and lose the game because of it. Because of the wonderful morale rolls. There are real problems with those morale rolls. You could, of course, tinker with it and say, look, if I'm not allowed to move anywhere, I shouldn't be penalized. And you can make that argument. That would be the case even if they were controlled by the Mithridates. But the advantage there would be they would disappear. It would kind of make sense. What would happen is they would disappear and become those provinces, each of which would defend against the Romans were they to attack. Which, not as good as having them as a barbarian force under Mithridates that can operate in all these territories, but maybe enough to have the same essential effect. So now, like I said, the pirates want to take Rhodes. We can always get back in time for the economic turn, which is going to be here in December. So we got plenty of time to go take out Rhodes, knock them out of the game, and then get back with what we can to cover as many of the grain sites as possible. This may give a free pass to Sulla. On the other hand, Marius doesn't want it yet, because he'd probably lose it the next turn. So I'm doing the pirates wrong. They don't have to actually be on the coast to raid grain. Not that this matters a whole hell of a lot. They have to be within 15 movement points. But the one thing that it does mean is I could probably take out Baedeca's grain if I had enough fleets for that to matter. He only makes one attack, gathering their forces. Why? Well, because I want to hit this, but I don't even know if I can. 3, 4, yeah, I can. So I got to take Malacca next, probably. I don't know. Maybe I can make it anyway. 1, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, I cannot. No, I need 4. Which means I actually cannot take this from this port. I could capture this port. Actually, I can't take it from this port anyway because I don't have any ports adjacent. So I would need 2 ports to be able to launch the attack. I would need both of these. So I probably should have split up and attacked 2 places. But, we'll slow things down. Anyway, they get a couple morale points. Marius loses a couple morale points, continuing to degrade the Romans. I think this is a really tough scenario for the Romans. Even if I had cooperated right from the beginning completely, I think this would be a rough one for them to win. After more than a full day away due to that cold, and it's still not cleared up, but it's okay. We don't have a Grain Riot this turn. And therefore Sulla gets a couple of morale points. Marius is in an interesting position. He has enough strength that he could attack either of these two forces. This one at about 1-on-1. You get a +1. Yeah, maybe not. I'm forgetting to count these navies in. I would get a +1 due to leadership. I gotta recount my forces because these guys give, oh geez, I don't remember. Something like 9 strength points each. So I don't think I can get the 1-to-1 on him under those circumstances. But I'd be in a morale penalty. On the other hand, the stupidity of Mithridates splitting his forces here means that I can pick on the smaller force and get some gain on that. And this may be the... You never want to split your forces in this game, basically. It's just one of the rules. Now, Mithridates can intercept, but then he's the attacker here. And I could bring the forces in from the city as well. Which might be his best option in that case. But yeah, you just want to move one big pile of forces around the map and roll everything up. Any other attempt at, clever tactics or anything just gets you killed. Mithridates gets the interception. He's attacking only a 5-4, however. The interception there was automatic. He had half a movement point distance between, so he has to roll a 1 or better. He has a +2 for his leadership. What do we have? 62 morale versus 126. That gives me a +1. That makes up for the CER difference. But there's still a leadership penalty against me. I could clear that out. I think it's worth doing here. So 126 minus 62. Yay, 64. Which means I'm 14 on my way there. So if I spend 36 more points, I get another bonus and I wipe that out. Obviously, Marius needs his treasury more, so he's not going to spend. So we do a donation of $30. That's going to give me a 4 to 5 at even. Do we want to pray? Maybe. Mithridates is polytheistic. We will pray because we think we fucked up so badly here that we need to. Basically, we're giving the Roman players a shot at this game. The Romans are not going to pray. A 6. Beloved by the gods, a descendant of Jupiter, modify the roll by 2 in the player's favor. Okay, so now we're at +2 on the 4 to 5. And yeah, that's... But it could strike him dead, which, So 4, 6, we wipe out Marius and take 3/4 of his losses. I had Marius counted up there. I don't remember what it was. I think it was 244. But 3/4 of that is probably going to pretty much wipe me out. The battle ends up being a 16 morale point swing, plus whichever leaders I want to execute. I'm certainly going to take some of them. The question is, do I want to wipe out this Roman faction? Do I want to kill Marius and Cinna? If I do that, I hand the board over to Sulla to play with. If I don't do that, I leave Marius in play as sort of this completely neutered faction. There's an advantage to not destroying the faction right off the board. On the other hand, I get a lot more morale. I don't remember how many. I just forgot the number. I can't keep numbers in my head anymore. It was like 14 points or 16 points or something like that. I'll have to recount it. But the leaders are worth decent morale points, which is kind of the issue here. But only if I defeat them in battle are they all that interesting to me. So, a named leader who's an imperator or rex costs 10 times as many points. So Marius would be worth, I think, 40 more points, which is starting to put me in the position of dissolving Marius right there as a faction. But I think I do want to execute him. The question is, if I leave Cinna alive and thus leave the faction undestroyed, what does that kind of do for me? I can't get the 10 times points for both of them. So named leaders are doubled, so he'd be like 6 more, and then these would be 3, 4, 5, which is 11 more, 51, 16, 66, yeah. So if I killed everything, I would wipe them out anyway. Is there a reason to leave the Marian faction on the board? Because, I don't know. I mean, I can cause Sulla problems with grain riots, but it's not going to happen for very long. It's not going to happen very many times. I don't know. I have to think about this real hard. What the Marius faction, the Cinna faction now, is nearly destroyed. I leave Cinna alive, captured, and I took 61 morale off that. That means that Marius is down to 1, or Cinna is down to 1. Oh, I grabbed some money too. Not much. I get like $3, I think. Doesn't make up for the donative, but you know. But that was a major swing, and mainly because of the religious and good die roll and whatever. I forgot to mention there was archers. Ooh, I have Cav there too. Actually, I was at +1. Shit. Oh well. So that would have been not 3/4 DE, but half DE. I'm not gonna undo that. I didn't notice I had a Cav unit here as well. I thought I had archers on one side and Cav on the other. Actually, I had both on Mithridates' side, which I don't know. I'll get some points back and get. And in that case, I wipe out Cinna because the morale swing will be higher, and I'll want the extra 6 points or whatever, or 4 points that I can get for him. Oops. So after defections, you only get half the units of each type, rounded down from what I can tell of the rolls. All that Sulla actually gets is 1 unit. That raises his morale by 1. Oh, but he gets some provinces. He gets Italia, Cisalpina, whatever's here, Tarraconensis, Sicily, Africa Proconsularis. He'll get those provinces. So all that provincial income all come to him as morale as well. Right now, Mithridates has a 203 value, we're going to be adding, I don't know, probably that 37. So we'll be at around 98. So we'll be in the 2 penalty zone for morale facing Mithridates. Plus Mithridates has a couple of heavy units that he didn't have before. And is in Italy, which means problems can happen. Grain riots don't affect him, but he can gain them. So very quickly, Italy could be conquered by Mithridates. The scenario is essentially over. Sulla's outnumbered by this force, but barely. If I could get a victory there, it might allow me to continue. I have some good morale. I'd get a big boost in morale off that. But the problem is, if I march down there to attack, they're going to jump in the city. And hey, I can't hit them in that case. I'm way outnumbered. I might be able to run back to Italy and try to fight Mithridates here over Italy. That's where my points are right now. That's where my value is. So I can try to slow things down there. But I think Sulla's been defeated. I think Rome's been defeated. Mithridates, or Marius, took a fairly good shot at killing a big stack. He had a fair chance of wiping out Mithridates. And the gods were against him. Mithridates called upon his ancestors, and boom, it's all over. And you can see why that might be a little unsatisfying in general to most players. If you didn't have the gods in there, what would that have come out to? Well, we were at 4 to 5. It would have been still at +1. It would have been no effect, which means Mithridates would have been able to slip away one way or another and get himself into some place where he could be in a defensive position with his whole force, in which case Marius couldn't attack him, and the Mithridatic forces could beat up on Sulla, presumably. A little bit fairer situation, still not good enough. Closer to the initial situation in a lot of ways, except that Sulla's less outnumbered if Mithridates is coming at him that way. Quite often, though, the game is, like many games, won on a mistake or something. Splitting the forces was a mistake. It ended up working out really, really well for Mithridates, though. So, you never know. Let's see. And if it wasn't for the gods table, there's no way of winning those extremely unlikely victories. I mean, this was pretty unlikely as it stood. So I don't feel too badly that it went the way it did. So yeah, I think I'm going to fall back on Italy. We finished the turn with Mithridates ducking back here after Sulla marches into here, charging up, seizing Illyricum. A couple of cities fell. That ended up being, something like 6 more morale points from Sulla to Mithridates. Over here, gotta give, I forgot to roll the die for them. They could lose something. Oh, they did. They lost a point. But yeah, they gained. The barbarians gain another point, and they also get Baetica. I think they conquered it just now. If not, I haven't assigned it to them yet. So in addition to the plunder, they get the conquest value for it. But they do take another one off Sulla there. And yeah, I mean, it's really just a question of, can we grind Sulla down or will he be able to maybe get a lucky shot in on Mithridates here? But we've got forces coming in to reinforce. I could have tried to ship these guys in outright, but it felt easier to walk them along the coast, which might be another mistake. You know, I'm good at making mistakes. I forgot to move these guys. I'll do that as well. Maybe one of the most important things, the morale value. Sulla's got a 91, Mithridates has a 209, and the Lusitanians have 116. The main part of the game at this point is the Lusitanians wanting to play it out long enough and slowly enough that they don't, wanting to play it out to the extent that they can capture things at a slow enough pace that they don't lose morale points and dissolve over the course of however many turns there are. This could be an issue, and that's really just a calculable thing. You know, whether or not Mithridates can destroy the Spanish by the time involved in it. I'm not going to worry about that. I was going to make some special rules where they can survive if they can. So basically what it comes down to is if Mithridates can beat Sulla, which I think is the case, this will end up being a victory for both the Mithridates and the Lusitanian player. Although Mithridates could hunt down the pirates and try to deny a victory to them as well. Again, why bother? If you've got your victory assured, screw it. Do you really want to play this out to the bitter end to try to destroy somebody else's chance? Especially since in the 3-player game you wouldn't be hunting them down. You'd just say, I won, because you've wiped out the other two factions, essentially. All right. I don't think there's much game left, but this video is going long enough, so I'm going to load this up. We're end of October. We get to roll to see if winter comes. That can cause a few little changes, but not much.